Hi, John here with VoWac Publishing again. Welcome back. We want to talk a little bit about the multiple spelling charts which are used at level 2. We start using these in level 2. Very quickly, chart 1. I've got some of these filled in. We're going to come back to this one, so I'm going to kind of hide this one in back. And just kind of show you these real quick. Chart 2, long O, long U, the U sound, the E arch. All of these charts, there's 5 charts. We fill these charts in with the spelling patterns that make these sounds, and we fill them in as you teach that particular spelling pattern. So they're not all filled in at one time. These charts are not completely filled in until you finish level 4. But we start using them in level 2. So we'll just talk a little bit about these and how they're used. In the Handbook of Teacher Tips, if you don't have one of these, again, I recommend this, but in the Handbook of Teacher Tips, the charts are shown on page 46. It's kind of a small version of it. I'm not going to get it up there too close. But on page 46, you'll see all of the charts and what they look like when they're filled in, an idea of that. Another place where you find these charts, and we start using this possibly in level 2, is the VoWac Student Guide. And so if you're a homeschool parent, or if you have a small class or a multi-grade setting and you don't have room to display these charts, then maybe this is the way to go. You'll find these charts and they're blank inside the book, and the kids fill these in and they can take them with them in their trapper keeper or backpack or whatever it is that they have, and they fill these in as you teach the lesson. So this is a great little tool, the student guide. A little plug for that. But here's how these work. We'll get into this. So how many times have you had a student ask you, "Teacher, how do you spell this word?" Whatever. And one of the typical responses you give them is, "Sound it out," or "Go look it up." Well, if they could have sounded it out, if they knew how to look it up, they knew how to do that, they wouldn't have asked you in the first place. So maybe the better question to ask is, what do you hear? So a student comes to you and says, "Teacher, how do you spell pride?" Like a pride of lions. You say, "Well, what do you hear?" Well, if we teach them how to use these charts, these are the ways to spell long I. Okay? I think you can see those all right. I'm going to let that kind of hang there. So what do you hear in pride? What's the beginning sound? Well, I'm going to jump over here. You hear PR. And then you hear an I, a long I specifically. And then you hear a D. And that's how you spell pride. PR long I D. That's what you hear. So the consonants are consistent. So we have PR. The most common way to spell this long I is I all by itself. You still have the D. This isn't going to work. The next most common way to spell long I is I, consonant, silent E. We'll see if that works. PR, I, consonant, silent E. PRIDE. Does that work? And of course the student might go, "I don't know." Well, let's hang on to it. Okay? The whole idea behind this is to give the student everything, but give the student nothing. Give him every vehicle to get to where he needs to be, but don't take him there. Make him drive himself. The next most common way to spell long I is IGH. So let's try that. Put that in place. PRIGHD. And you ask the student, "Does that work?" "I don't know." Let's hang on to it. Might work. You never know. He hasn't looked it up, so he doesn't know. The next most common way to spell long I is Y all by itself. So we have PRY. The same rule here holds true here. This isn't going to work. There's an orange line. There are so few spelling patterns below this line. I'm just going to give you those. I expect you to memorize those. So we have IE and Y-E. So right now, these are the most two logical choices. in all good conscience, you can point to the dictionaries and tell the student, go look it up. He's going to look up this and find it. He's going to look up this and not find it. This is the spelling pattern. Do a little follow-up with the student and say, what did you find out on pride? How do you spell it? Well, it's P-R-I-D-E. If you don't cause angst, if you don't cause a little bit of mental pain for the student to go through to find out how to spell a word, then he will always come up to you and say, teacher, how do you spell? So you need to cause that pain. And once you do that, kids will learn how to spell words, because if they have to go through the process, if they put some skin in the game to figure out how to spell a word, they're more likely to memorize it. And that's a real brief, quick way on how these multiple spelling charts work. So there's a design to hang up in your classroom. If you have the room to do it, again, hang these up so they're always on display. By the time kids are through level 4, they will know how to spell all of the patterns on these charts. Great. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.